Hello again, everybody. This is Jesse here, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. We are continuing our kind of year in wrap up or year in review 2020, doing things a little bit differently, not doing an epically long video this year, but we're splitting things up into 5 or so videos this week leading up to New Year's. So, last video we got rid of all the negative crap, or most of it anyway, of 2020. And this time we are going to take a little bit of a look at some of the good things or good trends and stuff that happened in 2020. So let's just get right into it here. First off, with all the bad stuff that has been going on, personally, society, COVID, everything else, breakups, social, COVID, everything, politics, all this nonsense we talked about in the last video, I'm still very, very thankful. Very thankful for everything that I still do have. In a year like this, especially being someone with a disability, a lot of people are struggling to find jobs. A lot of people are losing their jobs, losing their businesses. If that's just anybody, but then you compound that with it being harder for a person with a disability to find a job in the best of times, I I count myself extremely lucky and fortunate to not only have a full-time job, but one that I'm able to do from home and still be quite productive. So I am extremely thankful that I'm able to have a job, that I'm able to still support myself. I don't have to go on benefits. I don't have to struggle to figure out where, because if I lived off of the government right now, I would be screwed. I wouldn't even be able to afford my rent right now. So I too wouldn't even have a place to live. So I'm, like I said, I'm really fortunate to have the job that I have, the place that I have to live, my health, that I haven't gotten COVID, knock on wood, just all this stuff, that we sort of take for granted. We look at all the frivolous stuff. Again, it really, something like this global disaster kind of a thing really puts things in perspective. So, if you are fortunate to be in one of these situations where you have a job, you have a family, you have whatever it is you do have, you know, acknowledge it, be thankful for it, because a lot of people don't, especially this year. So, honestly, I am, again, one of the really great things this year has been game accessibility, tech and game accessibility. Both because I'm just really into that, and more people can use and enjoy technology, can play games, can do all these things. But honestly, some of the other things that I'm going to talk about here later in the video, it's actually it's kept me sane. That's the easiest way I can say it. With all the things, not being able to see friends, not be able to go anywhere, all the other personal stuff that's happened. Yeah, I was kind of down in the dumps for a little while, off and on. So, just like a lot of people were. So, having a lot of this amazing stuff happen with game accessibility, some of the game consulting that I did, some of the presentations that I did, some of the people that I met online virtually, some of the organizations that I found, like all of these things, in addition to my day job, honestly really helped me stay sane, stay positive, and just being able to do all this stuff and see all these cool things happening with game accessibility. We had a lot of games that we're going to mention later on in the week. The Last of Us 2 was just phenomenal. And then you have things like Minecraft Dungeons and some of the Microsoft games, Age of Empires, you have the Ubisoft games, you have some of the Sony stuff. We found out that Sony, the PlayStation 5, actually has full screen reader accessibility now. Huzzah! Because the PS4 was left a lot to be desired. So, and all these other things. So that's just been one of those things, and being able to kind of work in that area has, kept the spirits up for what otherwise could have been a really bummer year in general for me. These things really just kept me going, honestly. Consulting and other things like that. January, the surprise. I still remember I got out of the shower, I think it was on a Sunday, checked my email, and I got invited to go out to Washington State to meet with one of Microsoft Studios and do an all-day consulting gig with them on game accessibility. That was amazing. That was just, I couldn't believe something like that happened, and that was so cool. And then throughout the year, I've talked to a few other game developers. Some I can't really talk about quite yet, but hopefully sometime next year I will be able to let you guys in on some of that. But I've talked to a couple of mobile developers, some indie developers, and a few other people here and there. So just being able to feel like I'm actually contributing something fun, something interesting, doing something like this, it's just really fun. Continuing to work in the Microsoft Low Vision Advisory Board, that's been a super fun meeting and experience that I've gotten to do for the last couple of years. So things like that. I discovered XR Access through one of these online conferences or webinars that I attended early on during the pandemic. And I looked at this, what is this XR Access organization? Did a little bit of research, contacted them, and since, when was it, like May or late April, early May? I've been doing work with them. I actually got to help out with their some XR symposium in July. I kind of co-facilitated one of their sessions. Got to see a bunch of other ones that were really cool. So just the fact that I know there are other people trying to fight for VR and virtual and augmented reality accessibility is great, because I've been, as you guys know, I've been trying to fight for that since the Oculus Rift came out, before the Oculus Rift came out, and I'm not really making much headway. But hey, if we can get a group of us together, some in the industry, others advocates and professionals and whatever in between, there's hope. There's hope. So things like that, XR Access. Games, figuring out this thing with Games Press and figuring out contacts and a little bit more on how to, I learned a lot this year about kind of how to contact people in the gaming industry. I have questions on a certain game or how accessible it is, that kind of a thing. I found a couple of really interesting resources and learned a few things there. This fall, I actually got a few review copies for some Ubisoft games, which I disclosed on the channel earlier this year. So yeah, just being able to share some of those, look at some of these games early and be able to get that information out to you guys, out to people, to say, hey, if you are interested in these types of games, or if you're interested in a game, I can try to tell you what the accessibility level is so that you guys have that information before launch. Because I'm just as curious as you guys are, and I know a lot of people want to know that information. So being able to start doing that more has been really great. My IGDA presentation in June, that was really cool. I joined that Yeah, last year, 2019. Thanks to Riley for that idea. Um, but I joined them, and then they were looking for presenters earlier this year, and I volunteered. I said, "Hey, if you guys are interested, I can do kind of a talk on game accessibility, and these are developers." So by that time, we had started meeting remotely, so we did it via I don't remember, a Zoom or Slack or something. I don't even remember, but I did it virtually. I recorded the session that is up on my channel under the Gaming Accessibility playlist. If you haven't checked that out. So I did a presentation for them, and that seemed to go over really well. I do wish that we were in person for that, just because like after the break, or maybe we would have gotten more interactive questions and stuff, and it would have been interesting to see what other developers maybe they would have come up to talk to me a little bit more if we were in person. But I was still glad to do it, and I still think it went really well. I think I actually did the presentation well enough. I didn't stumble over everything like I thought I would or feared I would. So that was a cool experience. Oh yes, the Game Awards. Again, another cool opportunity I talked about earlier this year. The Jeff Keeley's Game Awards that just happened, what, a week or two ago? I can't even remember. I was approached by Jeff Keeley and asked to be part of the jury who got to pick the Innovation in Accessibility Award, which is going to be an ongoing category going forward in the Game Awards. So, yeah, it was just an honor to be picked to be a part of that, and I would totally be willing to be a judge, be a jury member, whatever, in that going forward. So who knows? That might just be a thing. But that was really cool to see. I'm glad to see that got some main stage and a lot more mainstream attention overall. Game accessibility, that was a really cool thing. Glad to be a part of that. Talked about XR Access. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what I actually wrote down here. Game review card. Well, I mean, I guess aside from no one being able to get one, I talked in the last video about all the scalpers and stuff for the game and the console launches and the new GeForce card launches and everything like that. NVIDIA. Just the fact that they were able to launch and they still did launch all these things in a crazy year like this, it's kind of amazing that they even were able to, that they even did. I maintain that they probably could have even held off because neither console really had a whole lot of, like, oh my God, I have to have the system for this specific game. There wasn't really this mind-blowing launch title, so they probably could have pushed it back to next year. But again, their whole financial thing and their whole plan, they probably just had to. This has been in the works for some time. But the systems are out there if you can find them. So both systems seem to be reviewed pretty well. Both do have a lot of accessibility features in them. Both the Xbox Series consoles do, and the PS5. I'm glad to hear again that the PS5 has added a full screen reader. I've heard little demos of it from other totally blind people who have managed to get their systems. I think they even got them directly through Sony. Lucky dudes. Jealous. But I'm just glad that, I'm really glad that they did improve that, because that was one of the things I was really wondering if they would do when Sony announced the PS5. So, aside from availability, cool that stuff came out. I think streaming services have also kind of come into their own. Yeah, people still make fun of Stadia a lot, and there's still a lot of potential, concerns as far as how is Google going to support this? Are they going to keep supporting it? Are they going to get sick of it? What kind of exclusives or what kind of real benefits would I have compared to other services? But now, we have GeForce Now. We have Amazon's Luna. We have Microsoft's, I forget what they're called, their streaming service. There's a good 3, 4 of them out there now, at least, that people can choose from. And I've done videos on Stadia. I've done a video on Luna. And I just started tinkering. I haven't played anything yet, but I just started setting up my GeForce Now account because that one's interesting the way it works because they tie into some of the games. Like if you already own some of these games through Steam, they let you also stream them. So theoretically, if they have maybe a more powerful PC that's issuing the stream on their end, I know that Cyberpunk 2077 is supported, and I'm kind of curious to try that game through a streamer or through the streaming and just see what, if any, like maybe it'll support ray tracing, maybe it'll perform better because of the specs that they have. I'm still only going to stream at 1080p, so I'm not really, worried about streaming 4K or anything because I can't. My monitor only supports 1080p. So I'm going to take a look at that sometime early next year for you guys. So yeah, game streaming. Similarly, Game Pass, Microsoft Game Pass. If you have a PC or an Xbox One or Series X or S or both, PC or console, honestly, at this point, how can you not subscribe to Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate? Because they have so many games that you can just try. You can download and play for free on your console or your PC. I've actually used it a lot in the past year and a half or so. There's been several games that I have not purchased, but I've fully played just fine, downloading and playing for Game Pass for PC, even a couple on my consoles. And, then they've added the whole Bethesda acquisition earlier this year, so now you can play literally Doom Eternal that way. You can play the Elder Scrolls games, I think, are up there now. A lot of their stuff is there. I mean, there's just literally there's stuff in and out of there all the time. And, it could be a game that, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see this well, or I don't know if I'm going to like this kind of game. Well, now I can just play it. It's not even a demo. I can literally download and play the whole game or start the whole game and be like, there's a game that I tried that I love the idea of. It was called Carry On. And it was this sort of 2D, you played this weird like alien life form that would float around a spaceship and try to kill all the crew members. In theory, it was great, but some of the graphics and stuff made it really sort of hard to see. But because I was able to download it and play it, I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not going to buy this one because, it saved me a few bucks. And that's the thing is if you are worried about accessibility in these games, Game Pass is a good way to try it. You don't have to worry about a refund or anything. You download, you subscribe to Game Pass, you download the game on your PC or console. If you can't play it, if you don't like it or whatever, delete it, uninstall it. Gone, done. No further action needed. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to like Game Pass. And that's going to be another reason where I want to upgrade my PC sometime early next year when things actually become in stock again, where I might not really have to get an Xbox One because most of the stuff that I would want to play, if I get a good PC, I can play it. I can play it on both. So, maybe I would get an Xbox Series X or something down the line, but I might not even have to because I can play a lot of the content on my current gaming rig. So Game Pass, really, really good value. Working from home. This is something that I've always sort of wanted to do, at least to some degree. I don't mind going into the office, I have no problem. Like, I know a lot of people are like, Well, I don't want to leave my house. I can't get a job because I don't want to go anywhere. Like we see that with a lot of our clients. We're like, well, I don't have the mobility skills, or I just don't want to go leave my house. I like going into the office. I like talking with my coworkers, and there's advantages of, like, oh, if I have a question or, they have a question for me, we can just, boom, hash it out in person. 2 minutes, boom, we're done. Meeting with clients in person, doing an tech assessment is a lot easier in a lot of cases. But I really like working from home. The commute, hey, the commute is a heck of a lot nicer. I don't have to wake up early to catch the bus. It's now wintertime. We've got a bunch of ice and snow on the ground. I don't have to bundle up. I don't have to fight through the snow and ice and worry about falling and cracking my skull on the way to or from work. I can be in home, and heck, if I want to, I can wear my nice home work uniform, my shorts and t-shirt, and hey, none the wiser. It works. I'm getting my work done. Perfect. Comfortable. And I think, the mandate that people have had to work from home during this pandemic has really demonstrated and showed that it can be done. A lot of these bigger businesses, especially, or governments, or, a lot of people who are really generally dead set against it or just really inflexible. I read a lot on Twitter again, I've seen a lot of posts from people in the disability community who are really frustrated, and I understand, like, I get it. But justifiably, where, like, especially, let's say you're a person with a disability who has a significant disability and maybe needs somebody, like a personal care attendant or extra assistance, or just doesn't have the transportation to get to and from work consistently. All these types of reasons, they were always told, oh, well, we can't have you work from home. This position, you have to work from the office. Just because that's what we've always done and that's the way we're going to do it. Well, now that people have had to work from home, people have had to try to figure out, businesses have had to try to figure out how they're going to do things more remotely. They can do it. And, people have proven, now we've proven that, hey, most people anyway, if the job needs to get done, it'll get done. If people don't, well, then it's on that person, and the business can, rightfully go after that individual, one-on-one and say, hey, you're not pulling you're not holding your end of the bargain here. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean you should slack off, but largely that's not an issue. So now that, it's okay for the mainstream to work from home, I really genuinely hope that going forward, once we're more out of this pandemic, once the vaccine has been issued to people and we're able to work in the office again and the community, I really genuinely hope that we are able to have, that businesses are able to support a more flexible work environment, whether it's flex time, whether it's working schedule or hours, and whether it's just working from home. Because I guarantee you next winter, if we're able to work at the office by then, and I'm going to be like, hey, in the winter 2020, I can't tell you how useful it was to not have to trudge out in the snowdrifts or to slip and fall on my face on the horrible icy sidewalks, because people around here don't shovel, they don't clean their sidewalks. You've heard me complain about it on Twitter. I've probably complained about it on this channel in the past years. So, if I'm able to work more from home and just go in when I have a meeting or go home when I really need to meet with a client, but then just otherwise work from home, hell yeah, I'm going to try to do that. Especially in the wintertime, that's just going to be a huge incentive, a huge benefit. So, yeah, and if people are able to still hire and allow some of their staff to work from home, this should be something that businesses should support. I mean, they always should have, but now that again, proof is in the pudding, as they say. So we've proven that it can work. So especially if, I've heard of several people who, like I said, they can't get the transportation, or they have a medical condition where they can't necessarily go out to the workplace and work in a regular job setting. And I even hear from people where they say flat out, they're like, well, I can't have a job because of my, condition. Maybe, I don't know, whatever the disability could be, but like, I can't work a part-time or a full-time job because of my disability. But yet I see people, all day on social media. I see people streaming for 2 to 4 to 5, 6 hours. Well, I'm sorry, but if you can sit at home and stream a game for 4 to 6 hours, even if you didn't work full time, you could earn some extra income and you could actually get a job. You could potentially work from home, especially as some of these businesses, if they're starting to be more open to supporting that type of thing now. If you ended up having to work from home for whatever reason, now, yeah, you can still stream, you can still do YouTube videos or whatever it is that you do, but now you just can't, I would say that you can't really use that as an excuse anymore to be like, oh, well, I can't have a job. Well, if I can sit in front of a computer or a game console and a TV all day, well, now you could. So that's what I hope comes from getting out of this pandemic. I really hope that some of this changes and that more people with disabilities are able to get a job, because all of this working from home thing has now kind of been proven that, hey, we can do this. And we actually have the technology. Like, I can't tell you how many different VoIP services I've used. I've used a ton of Zoom. I've used Google Meet. I've used Teams. I've used Slack. I've used, hell, I don't know. There's probably been a couple other ones I can't remember. But yeah, boy, let me tell you, I learned more about communication apps than I ever have in the last 9 months. So there you go. Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. So that is kind of that's kind of an overview. That's sort of some of the trends or some of the positive things that I have seen in games and accessibility and just in general over the last year or so. Like I said, we've had a lot to complain about, but in a way, like I said, if the pandemic has proven anything, it's proven that we can actually keep things going. We can find a way. We will find a way. We're determined. We can figure it out. And people can work from home. They can work from remotely. We can, meet virtually. We can share screens now. We can do all kinds of these things that will allow us to, yes, it's sometimes not as convenient in some cases, but it can be done. And I really just hope that opens up for people. All this games and tech accessibility, all these projects I've gotten to work on and do, I'm so grateful for those, because, like I said, they've just kept me sane in a year that has been just otherwise hot garbage. So we'll wrap this one up here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Come back tomorrow for some other stuff. We're going to talk about some other 2020 game or events and launches and products and such. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like it if you did. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, we'll chat with you guys again later. Happy holidays.